Hey everyone, I'm Marcus.
And I'm Charlie, and this is the Mood Booster podcast.
Each week in this podcast, we dive into conversations about joy, growth, just being better people, basically everything that we go through in our lives.
We're not here to preach, just connect, reflect, and hopefully give you guys a little bit of a lift wherever you are.
Yeah, you can expect stories that spark something, science that makes sense, and basically just a conversation between two friends that feels like you're on a long walk having a lovely chat.
This week's episode is on role models.
Yeah, we really unpack what it means to be a role model, how we see role models, and yeah, just everything around what it means to be a role model, right?
Exactly that, whether it's okay to not have a role model and what it's like to put someone on a pedestal and how that is growing up as well.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a lovely episode, a favourite of ours, so we hope you enjoy.
Let's boost some moods and let's go.
Let's do it.
Hello everyone.
Buongiorno.
Welcome
Ciao.
to the 7th episode.
Numero siete.
Yeah, I think you're there, to be fair.
Yes, sorry for swearing very briefly there if you're watching on YouTube. Numero siete.
Where did you swear?
I did the V's.
Oh,
Yeah.
You can't be doing that.
Cannot be doing that.
Can't be doing
Especially
that.
if we want to get monetized.
Monetized. Well, welcome back, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
How are we all doing today?
How are you today?
How's everyone doing?
How are you today?
Absolutely sublime. It is I think it's the hottest day of the year so far.
Hottest day of the year.
25 degrees.
25 degrees.
We are on a stonking day so
Yes,
far.
we are.
It's going to be beautiful. Before we go into the here's and theirs and the whatnots and here's and
And
theirs,
the highs and the whys.
Today's
Whys,
episode
what?
will be on role models.
Role models.
Won't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Great idea to talk about role models.
It was my mum's idea, actually.
Oh, thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy. Coming in
Tracy,
clutch with
coming
the
in
idea.
Clutch. Okay.
But yeah,
That's what we're talking about today.
it is indeed.
First of all, how was your week / weekend?
You are good.
Yeah.
Thank
What have
you.
you been up to? Talk to me.
Nothing much. Just turned 25.
NM.
Developed my prefrontal cortex completely.
Nice.
What else did I do?
Congratulations. Welcome to the overs category on the X Factor.
Yes, I'm now, rather than single, unmarried, according to Felix.
Oh, unmarried. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That you are.
No, I've had a fantastic week. Thank you for asking.
Sublime.
I don't even know where to begin. I'll start on the weekend because that was my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Watched the London Marathon, which do you know anyone who ran that?
Do I know
you know anyone?
anyone?
Ran the
I'll have to
London
come
Marathon.
back to you on that one. I think I know a couple of people. Kelly Brook ran it.
Kelly Brook. Well done, Kelly Brook.
Yeah.
Who?
Kelly Brook.
Kelly Brook.
I shouted at Kelly Brook actually.
Yeah. Was that when you were running?
We can unpack that. Yes, when I was running. But anyway, pray do continue.
No, pray do continue, please. So yeah, I had breakfast in the morning on Sunday
See,
on my birthday. Went to watch the London Marathon, which was an elite day.
muy bien.
God, there's nothing quite like watching a race like that, which makes you want to do it. On the day, you see it and you're like, let me get involved.
The inspiration is
that
insane.
Quite egotistical to be like, let me get part of this or not.
You see all these people absolutely just being machines.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they're walking, running, sprinting, whatever, like doing the London Marathon is so inspirational.
Yeah.
When you're on the sidelines, the energy is just electric and you're absolutely on fire as a spectator. It's just, you can't put words to how sort of, inspiring it is. Most years I spectate because you can't get into London Marathon. This year I was running it, but yeah, when you're on the sidelines, I run every day. Even still, I'm like, this is just inspiring me. I need to do more with my running. So yeah, if you're not running, I spoke to a couple of people at Run Club on Monday. They were like, it's just made me want to come to Run Club more and do all these things. I was
amazing.
like, yes, it has.
I think so on Monday it was a packed run club, wasn't it? People were coming from all sorts of different places and
here, there, and everywhere.
here, there, everywhere. I think that was an exact representation. It just boosts people's mood, but also just
No way. That's actually, that is a local.
wow. Imagine we called that out. No, but yeah, no. I just think overall watching the marathon, está loco.
Está
I
loco.
think Esther's wrong. Esther's the wrong word.
Yeah,
isn't
who's
it?
Esther?
Who's Esther?
Es loco. It's loco, I think.
Es muy loco.
Crazy. Es muy loco.
¿Qué pasó? Regardless, watched the London
Regardless.
Marathon. Fantastic time.
Muy bien.
And then the real spectacle of the weekend was watching Gladiator in the Royal Albert Hall with a live orchestra live.
Raw.
Live orchestra live. The Royal... I always get this wrong. Do you know the Royal Philharmonic? Do you know what they're called?
No. Sorry.
You're instantly wiping yourself off
I've
all
got
sorts.
no idea, sorry.
I'm not going to even
I'm
try.
not the guy.
I think they're called the Royal Philharmonic
Okay.
Orchestra.
Nice.
I think that's right. My word, it was phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
I know I've sent you a few videos and talked to you a little bit about it, but just the
Tell me
depth
more.
of what the orchestra have. So it was the extended version of the film, so I got to see more Gladiator than I've seen before, which was first off great.
Your favourite film?
My favorite film, one of
Being
my favorite films of
being
all
with
time,
your,
Ancestors.
I guess, let's say that your dream ancestors.
Dream
Yeah, I was
Ancestors.
trying to find a better word for dream, but like if you could, yeah, your
My
role models,
my
I
true
guess.
role
Yeah.
models. We were too early with the segue. Let's...
No, we need to dial it back, dial it back, dial it back.
Um, so watching it was just phenomenal. It was just too early. No, it was just phenomenal to watch it. The music, they were just playing all the good songs again and again, but just
Banger.
in greater depths as well.
Banger, banger
There's a
after
song called
banger.
Progeny, written by Hans Zimmer.
Prodigy.
Progeny. No, and that was being played all throughout. My word, if you love live music like orchestra, you got...
I love how you went to the steps song.
What are you thinking about the Prodigy?
That song, I can't remember the
Prodigy.
no, it's like the I don't know anything about this
Is that steps?
genre of music, but it's like let's just say the kids listen to it in the club. It's like a
And the club was 50 Cent.
drum and bass, I want to say. Did I'm not going to try and sing it.
Please enlighten us.
We'll put it on the carousel or something. Prodigy is neither of us have our phones, but
Prodigy.
it's like a house
tune.
artist. Yeah. Or
Regardless.
drum and bass. They're the same thing.
They
to
weren't
me.
playing that live in the Royal Albert Hall.
No, okay.
I don't think so, at least.
Okay.
I might have missed that one.
Right.
When I went to the toilet.
Yeah.
Regardless, watched that in the evening. I shed a tear.
Oh,
I cried. Not many films have brought me to tears.
Brother Bear.
Brother Bear has. Fault in Our Stars has as well. I wept at that film.
Right.
You know that film?
No.
It's great, to be fair.
Is it the one where one of them has cancer?
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
Makes
sent
sense.
Me.
Makes sense. Is that the one you watched on the way back from Let Garda?
Back from Garda? No, that was... Yes, it was...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, it was.
I wasn't allowed to watch it.
You were watching Gavin and Stacey, weren't you?
Yep.
Anyway. So I was brought to tears by it. Just the whole score, it was so powerful, the music. Sat there listening to it. Obviously, the movie is fantastic as well. Just the whole thing, start to finish, was elite.
Sublime.
The Royal Albert Hall is amazing as well.
Oh, it's incredible.
The actual building itself is beautiful.
Really
I've never been there before.
We go there every year. Well, I say every year. We've been for the last 2 years. And it will now probably become a Christmas tradition.
What, you and your family?
No, the house and the extended friendship group.
I'm looking forward to that. What
yeah.
do we watch?
The London Community Gospel Choir, and it's insane.
Is it good?
Yeah, they're so good.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's really good.
Inviting myself there.
Well, you were invited last year as well, to be fair, but I think you had your granddad's birthday or something.
Was I invited?
Yeah.
London Gospel Choir.
Yeah.
Granddad's birthday would have been.
Lucy came along. Yeah, you were invited last year, but yeah, I think it was your granddad's birthday or something. So you didn't come, but you will be invited again this year.
Thank you very much. I'll have to see what I'm doing on that day.
As of course.
Mum and Granny's birthday again.
Really cool. But I'm glad you had a nice time.
Yeah. So overall week around that, it's just been great.
12 out of 10 birthday.
Oh, birthday was phenomenal. 12 out of 10. It also allowed me, I think, since our conversation about birthdays, to sit in it more, to practice a bit of what we were preaching, to try and be more conscious about saying, oh, it's my birthday. Like, even at the Run Club, when you were saying, does anyone have some wins? And I was like, it's my birthday yesterday. Like, that took a little bit of,
nice
effort, conscious effort from me to say, I'm going to tell everyone here. And that was quite nice as well.
I'm glad.
So I think just starting to practice a bit more of what we do preach here.
Good.
Well, we don't preach, but just practice what we say. And yeah, just overall, a really nice week, I think, as well.
Good.
How was your week?
Lovely. Yeah, my week was good. It has been. What did I do?
What did you do?
Well, celebrated your birthday on Friday evening. And then, yeah, that was really nice. Made some homemade coleslaw, potato salad, all the things.
Oh, yeah.
It was delicious. Then Saturday, had a run club with Jack, our friend, and then went to the London Excel Centre for the London Marathon Expo to collect bibs. Came home, did work, and yeah, just chilled out before the marathon on Sunday. So
You run the marathon?
Número 3.
Golly,
Marathon número 3
No,
in
wasn't it? Oh, in
6
6
weeks. Yeah, in 6 weeks. And a little sprinkle of half marathon in there as well, Sheffield half. So yes, ran London Marathon on Sunday as Jack Ruin's guide runner, which was incredible. I might just mention Jack is a Paralympian, which is very cool. So I got to run a marathon with
So cool.
with a Paralympian, which is my claim to fame.
Mm.
Other claim to fame, saw Clara Amfo along the course. I know you don't know who any celebrities are, but I saw Clara Amfo. I was like, I never say
Big up
anything to
Clara
celebrities.
Amfo.
I never say anything to celebrities just because I don't. We'll get into today, but part of me is like, I don't really. Anyway, I don't speak to them as I wouldn't speak to any other stranger. But something just came over me when I saw her on the sidelines, and I was just like in this euphoria anyway, running. I was like, Clara Amfo, you're a flipping legend. And she was like, hi. She was really nice.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Elite. She said that. Hi.
Yeah. Then I proceeded to shout at Kelly Brook. And we were guide running.
Yeah.
I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't say this. Anyway, we were guide running, and maybe I'm not. She probably just didn't realise or couldn't hear or whatever, so it's not her fault, and I'm sure she didn't have this intention. But yeah, we were coming past, and Iona, the fellow guide runner, was very. She was going up to everyone like, guide runner coming through, please just make way for the guide runners because you have to go two breast or whatever that thing is. You have to go two of you. And she just wouldn't move. And Iona was like, guide runner, please, can you let them pass, please? And she wouldn't move. And obviously Jack's already there getting quite like overwhelmed. And I can't imagine how difficult that is. There's people everywhere in your way. You can't fully see them and understand where they are, and you don't have that perception. So you're relying fully on these two humans that are guiding you and getting you through like a safe route. So when, that didn't happen, I just got a bit defensive, and I was like, okay, this is not moving. I didn't know who it was. I just turned around and just saw this person vlogging, and I was like, excuse me, we were trying to get through, there's a guide runner here, and I looked, I was like, I recognise that face. I was like, oh, I just shouted at Kelly Brook because she was too busy vlogging, she wouldn't move for us. So, hi Kelly Brook, if you're listening, I hope you had a great marathon, no hard feelings, I'm sure you didn't hear us.
That sentence right there, I shouted at Kelly Brook because she was vlogging.
But it did give me an appreciation because I know that you shouldn't, or wearing headphones is not great because you can't really understand what's going on around you or hear, and you don't have that extra sense to help you when there's a whole field of people running next to you. I now have a new level of appreciation for that because I haven't really ever put myself in the shoes of someone who is like visually impaired and can't see where they're going very well. Being a guide runner fully gave me that appreciation. People, like so many people just had no idea what was going on, and when we were asking them to sort of, can we come through, just because their headphones were in, they were fully immersed in their headphones, couldn't hear, and it just made me be like, I can really see how for someone who needs the cooperation of people around them because of their disability or whatever, that is really difficult. And I don't know, when you're running a marathon, you need to like look after yourself and do what you need to do. So if that's listening to music and distracting yourself, that makes sense. But I don't know, it made me realise there's a whole other sort of situation or need that I was sort of naive to or didn't consider because it's not something that I, have experienced myself personally until now. So it's given me an appreciation for that. And I always say anyway, don't wear your headphones because soaking in the atmosphere is the best thing you can do to get you through a marathon. But that was purely for that reason, not because of, trying to consider people's additional needs. So it's just given me that appreciation because that was hard to contend with for sure, and Iona did really well to in the moment ask people to move because people weren't listening.
It's lovely that it's given you that perspective from guide running to
that's the thing,
like the fact that you've done that for someone else and then you've been able to become even more aware.
Like I think we are
fantastic.
Very open-minded as people and we always try and understand where other people are coming from, but it just goes to show like you can be open-minded but there's just so many other perspectives, needs and different I guess avenues or needs within life that you, until you're in that, you can never fully consider. So I'm not blaming myself for not considering that before at all because I don't have capacity or scope to be able to understand every single person's lived needs and experiences, but I guess in just going through that with someone, it has opened that sort of my eyes to that, as going through something else with someone in the future would also open my eyes to their additional needs in different areas. It's why, like, this is not at all what the episode's about today, but like, I'm not someone myself who identifies as transgender or non-binary or anything like that. I personally, from my own perspective, don't understand that experience. However, and from my mind, just because I haven't been through that,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that that person's experience is any less valid than mine. And it's
No.
just a prime example of like, until you've lived something, you can never fully understand it. So why on earth would you try and like negate or invalidate or whatever? Because anyway, I don't know why
Or
I
judge
went
it.
to there, but
No.
it's just a prime example in my mind of like,
Yeah.
you can't really understand someone's experience fully. So like, I don't know, it just gave me a full appreciation that I hadn't had before.
That's amazing. I think
Yeah.
it's exactly why traveling or anything else in that nature is so good for you, because it expands your horizons. It opens your eyes to different ways of life which you would never have thought of if you weren't in those shoes before. Exactly as you just said there, just because you haven't lived that life doesn't mean that you don't know what it's like. And it's the most closed-minded thing to think that you know it, even though you haven't lived in whatever shoes of that other person. And from trying new things like guide running Jack, you've been able to once again, learn something new, open a new avenue, which just makes you that much more rounded of a person,
Yeah.
which is lovely.
Yeah, for sure. So it was a
Fantastic.
thank you. It was I want to like continue that on, but where it's not at all the conversation
Yeah,
today.
we can do a little bit if you got more to say there.
Well, it's like I'm also a trustee for a charity for people with learning disabilities, and even still, I don't know anywhere near enough of that experience. But someone with a learning disability is just someone with a learning disability. That's not like, if you've met one person with, that's the saying, if you've met one person with a learning disability, you've just met one person with a learning disability.
Yeah.
But again, it's sort of trying to understand those experiences and not just be like, oh, there's this group of people over here who have all these, subsets of needs, and actually just understanding those individual experiences is really important, and trying to help those people on an individual level, as you would just as you and I would just have a conversation, I would help you on an individual level. And I guess, just, I don't know, listening.
I think that's what I value so much in our friendship. At the core of it is how we allow each other, or sort of spur each other on to become a lot more open-minded in any, maybe it's just you to me, but that's at least my experience with things, is that from meeting you, I've become a lot more open-minded. Not that I was closed-minded before, but become a lot more appreciative of other people or whatever it is. Just knowing more and more that I know less and less, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And that I think
We don't know anything.
we don't know. I don't know a bloody thing.
So why would I try and act like I do?
Or judge.
Yeah.
I was watching something. It was quite funny. It was a video. I can't remember the name of like the thing, but it was quick interview or quick arguments or quick conversations was the sort of name of the clip. And there were these two guys sat there. And there was the interviewer, and the interviewer says to the guy, who's like, "So you were born a girl, and now you're a boy." And then the boy was like, "Yes." And then the interviewer says, "Are you happy?" And then the boy says, "Yes, I am." And then the guy next to him is clearly like a sort of, don't know, Jehovah's Witness or some sort of Christian. I'm not sure who he was, but he then starts to speak, "Well, Jesus," and then like starts, and then the interviewer says, "Can it? That's enough," and then it stops there, and just basically the whole thing is, if you're happy, that's fine. End of argument.
Yeah. As long as you're
Nothing
happy
there.
and not harming anyone else.
Exactly
and
that.
being happy.
It's a bloody good rule to live by,
That's
isn't
kind
it?
of what the expectation
Why is there anything
is.
more necessary there?
Yeah.
It's a good rule to live by.
It is a good rule to live by, and it's a good sort of mantra to model as a person, I think.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. Be kind if you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah. I would look up to
Absolutely
that, I think.
I think so. I think if there was someone who lived by that, that would be someone who I'd want to have as a role model.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you should mention role models.
Why is that?
Because today's episode, we're talking about role models. Oh, gosh, we got there. Ha, 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 ha. Great work, everyone.
That was fantastic.
We got there together.
We planted that seed and let that one just simmer, didn't we? That seed was simmering.
And now we've got a nice little plant here.
Simmering seed.
That we can go into.
Go into.
I was going to say something, but it sounded weird in my mind, so I
Role models, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
It is an interesting one. I think you and I share. We were talking about this yesterday, and we were like, okay, let's talk about this, but also like not
hold off because
we share lots of views, but also maybe have different come from different places, maybe earlier on in life or whatever. So I'm excited to see what we delve into today.
It's probably quite important for us to be talking about role models as well. I know you mentioned it yesterday, and I'll let you speak a little bit more on it, but from the episode on compliments, and when we were reflecting on that, a lot of people were complimenting us from the whole podcast, saying that we were inspiring them. And I know you were saying it, and I very much resonated with the fact that it's quite uncomfortable to say that.
Oh God, yeah.
we inspire people or I inspire someone, it feels quite arrogant to say that. But as I literally said in the previous episode, dropping that, sitting comfortably in the pride to know that I'm inspiring someone. It's really weird to say I feel like a role model, because even that, it doesn't feel comfortable to say.
Yeah.
But inherently, I think what we're doing here, not to try and be role models, but just setting an example for each other and ourselves,
Yeah.
hopefully can lead us to be a good example of other people who might be searching for something like this.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. What you're saying is topical for us right now, because people have literally messaged us saying, like you've said, you're inspiring me, not only for like what we're doing with our fitness, but like just in general, mainly the podcast and how we're talking about what we want to be talking about, and we are chasing something we believe in, not only on the sense of our conversations and how that's inspiring for them, but also how we want to do something, and we're just sort of doing it and finding time to make it work and putting all of our resource into that and following a passion. And that is what they've also said. Now, like you say, that was difficult because that feels uncomfortable to be like, oh, I'm someone's role model. Like, that's just awful to say in my mind. But as you said, we literally said 2-3 weeks ago, someone's complimented us. That would be doing a disservice to ourselves, but also to them and their words and their choice of words that they've proactively decided to say to us. To ignore that or negate that or invalidate that. They've chosen to say that to us. We should try for ourselves and for them to sit with that and be like, okay, I am someone's role model, and whatever role model means to them, that's what they see us as, and that's lovely. And yeah, if I'm being self-indulgent or taking away any sort of like fears of, arrogance or whatever, that's incredible actually. And we should be very proud of ourselves that we are acting in a way and putting ourselves out there in a way that inspires people, and that's wonderful. So I think that led us today to, and just again, we have messaged and replied, but thank you to those people. That's a really wonderful thing to say to someone.
So sweet.
And also, I think to give yourself the vulnerability to say to someone, "You're my role model." Like, I think as the person saying that also is quite like a vulnerable thing to say. So that's really lovely, and yeah. I'd bounce that back to you. You're showing strength and you're communicating well yourself by being able to say that. But
Exactly.
yeah, I think for us, we just wanted to sort of, we've been hearing that. We're not talking about ourselves today as role models, really, but that's sort of where this has come from potentially in part, and why we thought, actually role models are really interesting to unpack, and what does that actually mean? Because obviously, like for us, we felt uncomfortable about that. But okay, well, why is that? Because we define them in a certain way. I also think, just I don't know if you want to speak on this, but I know you've been mentioning, which I fully agree, about sort of the adolescence program and the sort of trends or what we're seeing with young people at the moment. I don't know.
Yeah, I've not actually seen adolescence myself, funnily enough, but
the premise.
I do know enough about it from just speaking with people about what it's about. It's very, very topical currently with themes of masculinity, or what young men are experiencing, or what they think of they need to be when they get older, and with certain characters online spreading very loudly, maybe it's a slightly more toxic view on what men should be or who we should be as people as we grow older. I think it's becoming ever harder to navigate who you actually are, especially in this world of a lot of noise on social media. And I think, not that we're trying to set an example, but as you said, us just being us on here hopefully allows us to sit a little bit more confidently and allow people to maybe have a bit of a different view on what it is to be a man, but also a good person, to just speak about how you're feeling, where you want to be in life, what life is right now, the good, the bad, the ugly, all these things. So I think it is quite topical in terms of just, themes of masculinity, those toxic themes maybe.
What do you think of masculinity coaches?
Oh my God.
That's just come to me out from what you're saying.
Masculinity coaches. I've
got mixed views.
Mixed views. I mean, the automatic answer is just to slam them instantly. I'm trying to be a bit more introspective here. What do I think of them? I actually met one when I was in Thailand. It was the weirdest thing. I was sat in a restaurant and this guy had like 3 or 4 ladies with him. He was sat there eating breakfast, and I don't know how, but we just started a conversation. No, I saw him in a restaurant. He was down on my dive boat. I wasn't teaching him to dive, but I think a fellow dive master was. He then struck up a conversation about something. Ended up speaking to him when we were driving back from the dive, and I remember on it, I was asking him what he did, and he said he was a dating masculinity coach. So guys online would message him, and he'd basically teach them how to talk to women and how to be more of a man. And my instant reaction was, I think, a bit of sadness for these people who were messaging this guy.
Yeah.
I do not want to judge. I think there's so much there which is deeper in terms of how do these people feel so lost that they feel like they need to pay to learn how to speak to women. Or, I mean, I think it's representative of maybe a failed culture where people feel like they don't have the role models or the right role models to learn how to be the best version of themselves, and that this information to find a partner or be happy is required to pay someone on how to speak to women. It just feels very Black Mirror to me. This is how to speak to women. It also puts women on this other sort of plane.
Yeah.
Like the whole
it just makes me
masculinity.
feel quite uncomfortable.
I don't get it personally.
And we just said not 5-10 minutes ago, like I try and lead with an open mind with all of these things.
Yeah.
So this is why I have mixed feelings about it, because it makes me uncomfortable, but there's probably perspectives that I'm not privy to or I'm not considering. But at the same time, I just think, like, firstly, how to speak to women, it just gives me the ick. Like, if you're trying to other
It
a
does
whole
instantly, doesn't it?
bodies of the human species and be like, this is an other of people, therefore it implies that they are a subset of individuals who need speaking to, or who can be like tamed, because this is how you tame them, this is how you speak to them. It just gives me the shivers. And I'm not saying that is necessarily what he was doing, but from a zooming out, that's what it sounds like. How to speak to women is just wild to me. Like any other human being, one woman is one woman, one man is one man, one person is one person. How are we supposed to if you're speaking generically of I'm a dating and romance coach, of generally, no matter who you want to sort of court or pursue, this is how you can just speak to a human being. I can maybe see how that is beneficial, more so. But if it's a man who's like, my clientele are men who want to speak to or find a woman, it
was very much that angle.
I don't know.
It was very much that. He was like, how to be a better man, how to, like, I think he was even talking about like testosterone, all these things, all the sort of buzzwords about be a man, I'm going to teach you how to level up your mindset and get a hot woman. And it's like, Jesus, let's just step back here, buddy. Like,
relax. Relax. I think
overall,
masculinity coaches outside of sort of a romantic sense also, I still am not sure about. Again, I just don't know enough, maybe. So maybe I should stop there, and that should be the end of my point. But I
think the bigger question should be, why do these masculinity coaches exist? Why is there that gap in the market in the first place? Is it because there are these views, there are these really loud voices on the internet about what masculinity should be, so they're leveraging that to be like, all these young boys are seeing, young men usually are seeing these figures saying, oh, there's this person there with all his cars, that's the goal for me, I need to stretch to that. Is that because there's a lack of good men or good people who are speaking what it is to be a good person? I don't know. So it's probably a bigger question we should ask.
Maybe we just need to be focusing on being good human beings as opposed to because I know we've spoken about this before, but men and women and any other people have elements of masculinity and femininity within them, regardless of their gender. Like, we all have feminine qualities and masculine qualities, and some people want to lean more into one or the other. I don't know. Maybe it's just about being a good human being.
No, it does lead on to an interesting conversation about masculinity versus femininity, and if there's a balance, if there's all about balance, if that exists, is it all social and human constructs? But sort of dialing it back to role models, I think that's why it's relevant, is because...
Interesting. Sorry to interrupt, carry on.
No, I was just going to say that's why it's relevant, is because there's a lot of, I'd say, quite negative role models, at least what people are looking towards, especially when they're younger. And again, not that we're trying to be a role model, but I think from trying to better ourselves, at least within this sort of conversation, I know I'm learning so much from this. I think it's allowed us to sort of sit in what we're doing and set a bit of an example for some people. Yeah.
Talking of, and bringing it back to role models specifically, do you, I know we were speaking before about, I think you know where I'm going, like when you were younger, maybe only looking for like male role models potentially.
Yeah.
What, I guess I didn't really know my question, but just thinking about actually realizing or understanding that why only male role models, or like that it's okay to see role models in other people that aren't just linked with gender, I guess. But maybe for us, that then, like, before we go into that, we need to unpack like actually what we see as role models.
What is a role model?
Yeah,
Yeah. I
because
think
then
we
that
should start
might
there,
lend
but I
to
think it's an
that.
interesting point because I know for myself, again, we'll go on to this. I've never had one role model, but you know, as
Yeah.
when that. But like, what is a role model to you?
So I struggle with the term role model because I'm someone who, and I don't know if this is part of my brain differences or whatever, but I kind of see everyone on the same playing field.
Yeah.
This idea of, I like notoriety and celebrity and those sorts of things. It just makes me feel a bit icky seeing someone here to be
Yeah.
above me, or like here, and I'm not saying everyone sees a role model to be like that, but my idea of what society deems role models are is like kind of like the idol, you know, this person up here on this pedestal who we deem to be sort of superior to ourselves in a way because we're aspiring to be like that up there. And that's always just made me feel a bit uncomfortable because I'm like, we're all human beings. We all have strengths and weaknesses. We all take a dump.
It's true.
We all cry on our pillow at night
We'll all
time
die.
sometimes. Exactly.
We're all
We're
born.
literally all a ball of cells.
Yeah.
So for me, I find it slightly uncomfortable when it's like, oh, this celebrity or like whoever is incredible. I want to be like them. Don't get me wrong. I can fully appreciate when someone is a master of their craft and they have done,
course.
they're an incredible singer or they're an incredible broadcaster or whatever, and you could see that they've worked so hard and they are someone who's just honing in a skill and following a passion and doing so well at that, and I appreciate and admire that so much. But for me, that's where that comes from. That the role model is seeing someone's behaviors and how someone acts as opposed to the product or the person themselves. And maybe that's that's that distinction for me, the balance.
I mean, it's all about balance, isn't it?
It is, and I think, yeah, speaking out loud, that's probably how I see a role model is actually more the behaviors that are enacted and the values that someone displays or lives by, as opposed to this celebrity and that they can do no wrong and whatever they do, I see them to be faultless because, you know, like the Taylor Swift stan culture or Ed Sheeran stan culture, or I don't know, people that Donald Trump, like Donald Trump is. I mean, we don't need to go into that, but you see what I mean.
I completely agree with you. Yeah.
So I think that also, bringing it back to us, when someone's like, "You're my role model," I'm like, I know myself obviously the most anyone can know me. That's me. I know me. So when someone's like, "You're my role model," I just am like, I guess see my flaws, and I'm like, how can that be something that someone looks up to? But that's not what they're seeing, and they're seeing my behaviors and how I'm acting. So yeah, that is actually okay. That is, I am being a role model in that sense.
Has the mirage or the facade of social media, mirage was the wrong word there, the facade of social media allowed more people to step into this role model because you don't put all your flaws on there?
Yes, 100%. And it's not me pathologizing social media because it's just another platform like red carpets and the Sun newspaper back in the day, or you know, whatever.
Radio.
It's just another version of that, but there's so much more access to it and it's wide and everyone has a phone in their pocket. And I see people on social media who have very much become people's role models, especially like, I guess if I'm speaking in a micro lens, like in the running world, for example, you see these people who come onto social media with no running qualifications or training background. This is very specific, but I'm sounding a bit moany here. But like, they're just like, this is how you can get a 5K PB. Do this interval training plan. Do this, this, and this. again, with no backing, and people, because they speak with chest and they speak with confidence and they don't doubt themselves, people just see that. People just see the
Yeah.
confidence and they're not doubting themselves, and also because, for whatever reason, they're fast themselves. You can be fast; it doesn't mean you're a good coach. They're fast themselves. They're amazing. I'm going to follow them and do follow their word, and
Yeah.
live by it as gospel. And I sit uncomfortably with that, and it's probably why it's taken me a while to become more confident on social media, because I don't sit with that confidence, because I see my flaws before anyone else does. So I'm like, why would I tell someone how to get faster at a marathon? Because I'm just just another person that, forgetting the fact that I've run for 1,500 days in a row, and I've run several marathons and have very good repertoire of running.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I just see what my flaws first. So I don't think I'm not saying that they're wrong and I'm right, or vice versa. There's probably somewhere in the middle, but I do struggle a little bit with people portraying or sending out information to people. I think it's more the information.
Completely.
And this is one example within the running field where you could be telling someone to do an interval training plan that they're not ready for, and they're going to do, and they're going to injure themselves. It's like, you're not a coach, don't try and be a coach. Get the qualification if that's something that's your passion. If you're doing it to get views and to get monetized, then maybe do it in more of an ethical way, in my opinion. But that's in the running world. You have people spouting things about ice baths,
All
or
over.
how to be a man, or how to
How to date women.
I don't blooming know, like all of the things,
Whatever it is.
and it just lends itself to. I'm not saying we shouldn't have free speech and all those things, because of course we should. Well, in my opinion, of course we should. But yeah, it's
Leveraging and taking advantage of people.
anyone could be a role model, and anyone that's susceptible to information without critical thinking, which with the internet, unfortunately, sometimes we lack, because we see things as at face value. We can get into some sticky situations.
There's a prime example of that. I think I was like 14 when I started getting into the gym. I idolized like these big buff people, clearly on steroids. It was like a thing. It was a brief stint that I went through when I was younger. Of course, I had no sort of person to guide me or mentor me in that. I just had YouTube and these sort of Gymshark videos. I was like, oh my God, I looked up to these people as like gods and deities. I remember when I first ordered protein powder, my mum was like, this could be dangerous. Like, what is this? She had no idea, but I was looking up to these people. I remember distinctly, I think I was 14 or 15. There was a company called Shreds. This came back to my memory like a year ago. I was like, oh my word, how I almost got caught is so dangerous. I was young, naive, and susceptible. And there was this company called Shreds. It was like a pill that you could take and it would make you look. And on the cover was this guy who was completely shredded, like juiced to his gills, like completely just not natural at all. That was like the sort of poster boy of this, pill that you could take. I remember trying to speak with this chatbot, trying to order it. It was like £100 or so for these magic pills.
Oh God!
And I remember distinctly the person messaging back. The English was really poor. It was like, "Are you 18? Please, can you tell us that you're 18 so that we can send this to you?" Like, and I just remember I did never order it, but I recall so distinctly that me in my naive self was trying to thinking that, oh, I need this. Let me just reach out for it. I never acted on it, but how many people would have been caught in a trap in any sort of field? And it's that exactly, I think, the internet, what is beautiful for is it allows genuine information to be more accessible than ever. But in these fields that you're saying, whether it's masculinity coaching or whatever, it can be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, it can be. And even I know it's so difficult, because you can't and you shouldn't police what people say, but I've not experienced this ever myself, so I don't have personal experience with this, so I won't go into it too much, because it's not my place to. But people with or have a history of an eating disorder, they're saying that you've got these people sharing information about how you should count macros or do with macros and or whatever, and these people who are in recovery for an eating disorder have spent years like being taught about nutrition and all these things and how to eat healthily and or whatever. And yes, they're just one person who has an eating disorder, like they're just one person. But I've seen videos of them being like, these people are just here spouting nonsense about like, this is what you should be doing and shouldn't be doing and how you can cut and all these things. And it's just so dangerous.
Jesus.
So yeah, I think that's why, going back to role models, I do struggle a little bit with. It sounds like I've got a chip on my shoulder, which if that's the case, then I'll take that.
So be it, yeah.
I do struggle a little bit with the whole pedestal thing and seeing someone to be not critically thinking about other people and just seeing them. They are this person I look up to, therefore everything they say and do is what I aspire to be or whatever. It's just not how we should be, in my opinion, and why I think, for me, the behaviour is the role model. Is what we should be looking at.
I completely agree with you.
Call me Bandura, social learning theory, modelling behaviours.
Bandura.
Yeah, do you remember Bandura?
I didn't. I don't think I went into that in psychology.
You didn't do behaviorism. It's like one of the.
I know behaviorism is one of the main pillars in psychology. Bandura. God, if I did, I'm sorry, Mr. Canonica. I'm sorry if I've forgotten it.
Bandura's Bobo doll study back in the, God, I don't know what decade it was. I want to say like the 70s, but
It's not ringing a bell.
Just children learn by imitating behaviours. Is a very basic study. Well, it wasn't basic, but these infants were watching this novel situation, this like Bobo doll, which is this giant doll in this room, and these adults came in, or these models came in, who the children saw, and the adults came in and started hitting the Bobo doll, and then immediately the children were let free into the room, and they did the exact same thing. And it was just like a basic example of how we learned via modeling and imitating modeled behavior from our models.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I just said call me Bandura because I'm talking about modelling behaviour.
Okay, so just before I want to go into this, I completely agree, by the way, with the whole role models. Never held someone on like a pedestal either. In terms of modelling, are you saying that for role models then we just copy people when we're younger? Or whatever they do? Or
I can't remember what part of and where this came into social learning theory along the timeline of the theory, but I know this is part of it. But the people we model, we're more likely to people we look up to for their modeling behavior to imitate. We are more likely to do that when there's familiarity and similarity with those people. We feel connected to them because potentially we see ourselves in them, and we therefore, and this then goes into sort of later development, childhood and adolescence as well. If we can see ourselves in someone else's shoes, we connect to them, we relate to them. There's that relatability and that similarity and familiarity, and those people we're more likely to look to as role models, because we can feel that connection to them in that way, and we feel somewhat like we could be them, or there is that, it's that human connection, and we want to feel connected to human beings, and we want confirmation that we're doing the right thing. And if someone is similar to us and they're behaving in a certain way, that gives us confirmation that a similar being, a similar person is doing something and succeeding. And it's also vicarious reinforcement as well. Vicarious reinforcement means you get positive reinforcement by seeing someone else succeed. So if someone else were to hit that Bobo doll and be given, this wouldn't happen because an infant wouldn't understand monetary value, but just as a basic example, if someone were to hit that Bobo doll and be given £100 and someone else came in, didn't touch the Bobo doll and didn't get anything, you would, from the theory of vicarious reinforcement, you would be likely to hit that Bobo doll because you saw and thought, okay, I want to get that £100. They got the reward for doing that, so I'm going to do that same behaviour. And again, that's more later development, not infancy. But yeah, there's that. So I'm connected to someone, I'm seeing similarity there. I also see them succeed. And if I see myself to be in their shoes because I'm familiar and connected to them in doing what they're doing or behaving how they're behaving, I could succeed in these ways as well.
In terms of the familiarity, are there is it physical traits that we look for? Is it familial?
All of the above. All of the above, which is potentially for you why, when you were younger and you were saying yesterday, you looked more to males for role models.
I don't think it was quite so male orientated. No, I think
I'm sorry, I thought you said that before.
No, so I never had a role model, one specific role model growing up. I felt a bit weird for not having one because whenever the conversation arose, which I don't think it did that much, but whenever it arose, I was always in my own head being like, I don't have a role model. Is this weird? I actually always thought, if I was to have a role model, it would be myself in 50 years because that's the person who I want to be, is the best version of myself.
Nice.
Not to be too preachy, but that was who I always thought I should be actually trying to be instead of someone else. Now, I very much drew inspiration from a lot of people in my life. My mum, my granddad, whoever it might be, there were certain traits or behaviours there that I was very much leaning on and pulling from, being like, that is cool, I need to do that. But never had a specific role model. How much of that was me growing up, feeling like I needed a male role model? I don't know.
It does make sense though, because First, I really like my role models me in the future. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
But it does make sense because of that familiarity or similarity.
Mm.
Especially if we're talking about some of the things that are topical at the moment, and even um,
Mm.
brought up in the House of Commons and our potential policy changes, especially within education. If there's young boys who see, let's just for the sake of this argument be binary in this, not there's young boys who are seeing the female population as an other, they don't connect to them, they don't relate to them.
Yeah.
They're never going to see someone that they don't connect to or relate to as someone to look up to.
Mm.
They can't relate to them, they feel like they're another, they feel like they are alien to them, they don't know them, haven't had an experience with them, they are another being that is someone that they should intimately interact with, but they don't know how, so there's all of that frustration. They're just another.
Yeah.
They can only feel connection to someone that isn't another, their human being connection, that is their similarity, their familiarity, and that's why then they're gravitating potentially towards these males who show similar traits. Again, it's that familiarity, and it's we know I subscribe to the evolutionary theory. To survive, you need to find your tribe and find your people. From an evolutionary perspective, when you amalgamate together, you're more likely to be able to overcome threats, whether that's the animal chasing you or whatever, or the other tribe. You're going to survive if you're together. To be able to find your safety net, one of the cues for that is people who align with you and people who share your values and share your traits. That similarity and familiarity is safe because it is a mirror of who you are.
Is that your goal traits? Is that what you think you should be doing?
Well, it's kind of mirroring yourself, because you need to find people, again, that have that similarity and that safety net in, okay, well, I know myself, and therefore the mirror of myself is going to be safe for survival. So therefore, when we look to role models, it comes from that place of, I know these people, they're safe for me, but I also put them on this pedestal.
Where do these young boys then learn these toxic, I think we can say objectively toxic traits, which then allow them to put these slightly less ideal role models on a pedestal?
Well, they might learn it from those role models.
But then that's a bit of a catch-22.
Well, the whole
isn't
thing
it?
is, it's what came first, chicken or the egg. It's a vicious cycle, and
It's 'cause
I
these
don't.
people are loud online, is that why?
Well, potentially, and they see that. We won't know, and it's an individual by individual, basis. But we won't know. Role model came first, those traits, and that young person came second, or vice versa. It's definitely not one or the other, and it's much more nuanced than that. But yeah, it's definitely a combination, and everywhere in between.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. I mean, something that we can also speak on is...
But I'm sorry, carry on.
No,
No,
it's
please,
fine.
carry on.
Something that we can definitely speak on is how I think an increase in maybe a lack of a father figure can also have an impact on younger boys as well.
Yeah.
Especially younger men when they're growing up not having a father figure. Now that again puts it into, oh, I couldn't possibly have my mum or whoever or a woman as a role model because we're so labelled in this current culture as well, which is a shame. But I think that's from what you've been saying. A lot of the familiarity is leaning into gender as a young boy.
It is, but I think there's a lot of unpacking that can be done there, because
Completely agree.
as we get older, but I don't know that it requires you to get older. It just requires you to understand that, women aren't another, or anyone else that's not a male isn't another. And there's so much to share with those individuals, to be able to see them as role models as well. And it's sort of unpacking all of those sort of patriarchal systems that divide us, and sort of moving away from those, changing the language, integrating, and just integrating young people earlier, removing all these systemic things, removing language, don't be a girl, don't cry, all of those things that you say to a 3-year-old when they're crying, immediately, subconsciously making girls weaker and putting them down, and all those things. There's just so much systemically that it's just, we're not even touching the surface, that perpetuates and reinforces all of this divide between individuals. So yeah, it makes sense then why boys won't necessarily see a girl to be or a woman to be a role model, because they are someone else, and they might see that. Whereas actually, for me, and you said just a few minutes ago, both of our mums, key role models for us growing up,
Exactly,
as they should be.
Yeah.
I have 3 older brothers who are all my role models, and my dad was as well, and still is. But they're just because that's my family dynamic, they were male. My mum's very much a role model as well, and I couldn't say because I'd struggle with, and you asked me yesterday who my role models are, and I don't know now outside of my family who they are. I do have them. My friends, like, I have more probably female role models than male at this stage, and
Good.
there's no weakness in that whatsoever. If anything, strength
course
is
not, yeah.
neutral probably, but like,
Well, let me ask you a good question then.
okay,
One. If you had to be in a hot air balloon with anyone, dead or alive, for 30 minutes, who would you choose?
30 or
30 minutes is all you get. You get to
my
pick their
God.
brain.
That's such a hard question. Do you know your answer?
I do, myself.
I need a minute to think about it. It's like when we cut it from the episode, but we did a quick fire round on the first ever episode or the second episode of like quick fire answer these questions.
Yeah.
This is a classic one of those questions.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we cut it because it took about 10 minutes to answer every question.
Just like that. Oh,
I
wonder what.
don't know. Interesting. Who would you say?
Steve Irwin, for me.
Oh, of course it would be.
His views on just such the absolute sheer rejection of anything material. I remember there was that clip which went, I think, viral. He was saying, "Give me any money and I put it straight back into the land for the animals." I think it's just such a cool way of living. I think I might have even said that on this podcast so far, but yeah, that's actually ringing a bell. But yeah, for me, I'd just love to speak to him more, learn more about that sort of real, amazing connection to the earth. I think that's amazing.
I don't know this is my final answer. Sorry, I was listening to you.
No,
I was
fine.
also trying to think of my answer. But you have also spoken to me about your passion for Steve Irwin before.
Cool. I think he's wicked.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know that this is my answer, but I just can't think of anyone. I'm not a monarchist. I'm not anti... I'm not also getting involved in that conversation.
Where's this going?
But I do massively admire Queen Elizabeth II. I think just for her dedication, and I'm not saying she's a faultless person or was a faultless person.
Yeah.
I think her dedication, her stoicism, her just keep going, her resilience, from an out perspective. And again, this is why role models I struggle with, because she was the blooming queen, and I still am about to acknowledge that she's a human being that has flaws, many flaws. Maybe I just would like to just pick her brains and see where all of that comes from, and like her absolute like her loyalty. I think you cannot, for there are faults within it potentially, but loyalty to country, state, all of the above,
over a lot of other things that people
again,
prioritize.
to her fault at sometimes potentially, I'm not getting into, but loyalty, and as we know, loyalty is one of my biggest things in life. I am like, loyalty is like an absolute non-negotiable for me, and just the incredible loyalty that she showed, and dedication and passion.
See, even there, the words that you were saying, if we're going back to dialing it back to a lot more of a surface level, the words like stoicism, these are buzzwords that these sort of masculinity coaches chuck out. Why, tying it to a masculine thing or a male person takes away from people like Queen Lizzie II. She can very much be stoic, strong, all these masculine, typically masculine
what is
traits.
that? Yeah.
What is it at the end of the day? Why is it not just a human trait?
I could be being ignorant here, but who decides what's masculine or feminine?
It's all societal. It's all what we have deemed and put these on in the recent years, it seems like.
Strength, loyalty, determination, passion, empathy, compassion, open-mindedness. These are all behaviours. Ingenuity, innovation, having autonomy and power in your agency. These are all behaviours and values that I see as behaviours to be role model behaviours. I don't see them to be gendered, personally.
I think if we're trying to boil it down and try and unpack it, there's a flawed logic that men used to go out and hunt and women used to, stay at home, whatever it might be. Vikings, they had shield maidens. They'd come out very much and fight as well. Lionesses, they'd go out and hunt the food, bring it back as well. I think these things that we put on our culture nowadays anyway, anyone can get a job, go out and provide. It doesn't have to be that
Of
sort of
course, yeah.
olden way of thinking.
No, definitely not.
So I think linking it back to role models, I think that's a cool role model.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to be in a hot air balloon as well.
Yeah, I
really
know
cool.
that there are other people that I'm not thinking of, but right now, that just trying to
that
be quick
one.
about it, I just find it. I think it's fascinating as well. Yeah, I just think so cool. I think when
That'd be amazing.
someone shows determination, passion, and what's the word, commitment
To their
to their
cause.
craft and
Exactly
cause,
that.
yeah.
Same. It's the same reason for Steve Owen as
I
well.
was going to say the craft and cause could be flawed, so but it's still admirable. But I then don't agree with that because Hitler showed
Get out of
determination
Hitler
to his
on
cause,
the
and
hot
I
air balloon.
most
Ask him why
certainly
he did
do
what
not.
he did.
I most certainly do not support that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure with that one actually. But anyway, yeah, who do you see in 2025 to be your real life, sort of in your life, role models that aren't celebrities or notoriety, like have notoriety? Just not, I don't say just to preface, but day to day people who are
You
connected
know,
to you.
this is going to be maybe a bit of a boring answer, but it's gone a bit of a bell curve. It started out as me drawing these inspirations from my family.
Mm,
Went very much when I was younger to, who are these people online who I should look to? Very quickly gone back down again, I think, to my family.
okay.
I think it's become a lot more real. I don't think I couldn't name you one or two people. I think I try and draw inspiration from a lot of people in a lot of different moments and situations as
Okay.
well.
Can you give me some examples and why they're
Well,
role
for
models?
instance, with yourself as well, I draw a lot of inspiration from you in a lot of conversations, a lot of characteristics that I deem admirable. I'm like, that is a cool characteristic, or that's something that I'd be proud to
Mm.
show as well. So, although I don't put you on this massive pedestal, I very much admire a
You
lot of
can
you
do
as
if you
well.
want. I don't mind.
Yeah, no, I see you as more down there, sort
Yeah,
of,
literally.
tucked away in the because you're so short.
Yeah.
You're right down there, pal.
Oh yeah.
5'9" versus 5'9 3/4. Hello.
Oh yeah.
I think yeah.
Thank you.
I
That's
don't
very
think
kind of
I
you to
can
say.
give a
I
lot
wasn't
of
fishing for that,
different.
but thank you for
No,
that.
no, it's fine. I mean, my mum as well. I
Mm.
take a lot of inspiration from her as well.
Mm.
She's a steadfast woman. She's very strong. She's so kind and caring.
Mm.
She's patient. A lot of these things that I would want to be as a person myself. I would draw inspiration from as well.
Mm.
I don't think there are online people because I don't know them well enough to know their true selves to draw inspiration from them. So there aren't people that I put on these high and mighty sort of pedestals to really put as a role model. And if I was going to say it, it wouldn't be coming from a true place. Now there are people who I admire, and I think say that commitment to a craft, like Steve Owen, is something like that is an awesome thing to do. Am I able to lean more into my own craft, drawing inspiration from the way he was shaping his life? But by no means was I like, this man is my deity. I shall follow him to my dying end. That's not what I'm sort of saying.
No.
I think for me, it's again, as what you were saying earlier. I don't think I can possibly have a role model, as everyone's just a person,
Yeah.
and that doesn't quite answer your question.
No, it does. I think for me,
Mm.
I think it is a role model, but it's just seeing it to be in a different way as to what we originally thought they were. So like those people are potentially, if I were you, I would see them to be role models, but also see role models
Define it
to be
differently.
flawed as well, and that's okay, and that's part of why they're role models because we can all be flawed.
I've got a role model.
Who?
Julius Caesar.
Of course.
Yeah,
We didn't need to ask that. We didn't. You didn't need to tell us that.
Maximus Decimus Meridius.
I have to
Yeah.
hear on a daily basis your obsession with the Roman Empire.
Not daily,
The podcast
let's-
listeners every episode now have to hear your obsession with the Roman Empire.
I'm not sure if you guys knew I actually watched Gladiator on Sunday. That's my role model. I've found one.
Love that for you.
Just ditching everything we've said in the past hour.
There's so many things. You put the Roman Empire up here,
I do not.
and I'm just here like all of these problems with it, the slavery and all these things. It's such an amazing time to be alive. Ooh, if you're a slave, I'm not so sure.
Maybe not.
But you do.
I do it tongue in cheek. 2 pints of lager.
Yeah, for me, yeah, there's so many people, I think, and that's what, because I don't have it to be this huge thing, I think I see everyone in my life to be a role model in different ways. And I don't say that because I am about to give you examples,
Mhm.
but I don't. So I don't say that to be sort of lack specificity or lack depth of reflection.
Yeah.
I truly just think everyone is a role model to me
Mm.
in small little ways that they act, and I learn from every single person I interact with, whether I see them at, I don't know, it's one barista I see on a morning and I have
Mhm.
a fleeting 5 second conversation or 2 minute conversation with them, or one person I meet at a run club and never see again, or
Mm.
someone like you who I see every single day
Yeah.
and share a lot of experience and time and all of those things with. All of those people in some capacity I see to be people I can learn from and grow from
Mm.
and share experience with. And in that sense, I define them to be role models because I define role models as that and not someone on this pedestal.
Yeah.
Some examples from me. My old housemate Nor. I don't know. This whole time we've been talking, I've been thinking about Nor because she is someone who has so much strength and she
Mm.
is so stoic and she just plows on and is
Yeah.
one of the strongest people I know. And yeah, her strength is just so admirable. So I see her in that sense as a very key role model. Like you say, my mum as well. A strength. She's just so caring, compassionate, wants the best for her family and everyone around her.
Mm.
She's a hairdresser and her clients are just always offloading on her and sharing things with her, and she gives them that space to be able to do that. So like I said last week, even just from her ability to host and look after people and people just to feel like they can freely walk in the door
Mm.
and being able to build that space for someone
Yeah.
or build that connection with someone is really cool that you've given someone that. So yeah, my mum, my brothers, all in their own respective ways. Just trying to think of other, I mean, everyone. Yeah.
Everyone. I think this leads on to this is going down as a very, very certain avenue, but I remember learning about this about a year ago. It's a spiritual belief of what the universe is. Now,
Mm,
I know it's a massive thing that I've just put out there, but it's a belief system in terms of what we see the world as. Everyone these days we see is so individualized. This is their person, they have their own thing going on. There's a certain belief system. I think it's Taoism. I
mm-hmm,
don't want to, yeah, I'm maybe even saying that wrong. It's the belief system that we are all one. I am you, you are me,
mm-hmm,
the person walking down there, I am them.
mm,
This whole is one breathing system.
yeah.
So it lends itself very deeply to these sort of themes of connectivity, completely ripping away any sort of sense of, we are all our own people. And
Yeah.
it's actually saying, I think it lends itself into treating people with kindness. It's just believing that someone who you interact with, if they're angry and sad, not to judge them for that, but understand them
Mm,
because we have the capacity to feel these things,
mm-hmm.
and appreciate that I am this person who's angry. That is my version of me being angry as well. And I think in terms of role models, it sort of puts everyone into one sort of big
Mixing pot.
ball, mixing pot, and realizing that we're all just one connected thing.
Yeah.
We're all one connected species. This Earth and us, we are all one. It's
Yeah.
very sort of spiritual,
Mm,
very enlightened.
yeah.
But I think in terms of role models, it's learning from everyone on the streets. There's little conversations with barista when you're at a park and you see someone walking a dog. It's what can you learn from this person? What can you admire? What can you draw from them?
Mm,
If it's someone reading a book, appreciate that as well. It's taking away from these massive wins which we see people being quite loud about,
mm,
and appreciating everyone for their little things and drawing inspiration from that as well,
yeah.
and knowing that the best version of ourselves is already us as well.
That's very cool. Again, I probably sound really ignorant here, but
No,
is
go
that
for it.
like, it sounds quite like Buddhist subscribed.
I think it is. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, this is. I do not want to be wrong here, and
Maybe we
if I
shouldn't.
am,
Yeah.
maybe I should know. Taoism is a form of Buddhism.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I was reading a book by Alan Watts.
Okay.
Alan Watts, I think it is, and he was saying Taoism is a form of Buddhism. I
Okay.
think,
There
and
we
a
go.
lot of that ties itself into Buddhism as well.
Mm.
It's very, very spiritual.
We're all on the same level.
We're
We're
all on the
all
same level,
equal,
although
which
we
we
might
are.
not seem it or
Yeah.
say it, or people will seem like they're not.
Yeah.
We are all on the same level, and it goes
Mm.
back to exactly what you're saying. We all take a dump,
Mm.
and it's important to look at admirable traits through the you know reflectivity or whatever, the sort of reciprocity that you were saying
Mm.
model earlier. But knowing that you're enough and sort of striving to always be the
Mm.
best version of yourself, you can take inspiration.
Yeah. What you've just said, knowing you're enough, I think, is also sort of reminds me of why, for me, it's important to have the right balance with role models because we very much have come from a lens of
Mm,
one way of looking at role models, and I do want to see what the benefit to maybe the other, like subscribing to more of like, yes, putting people on this pedestal,
Mm.
maybe shortly, briefly, but leaning into our viewpoint a bit further, I think when you, what did you say? What specifically did you say that I just picked up on?
And knowing that you're enough.
Knowing that you're enough, exactly those words. When you put someone on that pedestal,
Mm-hmm.
there is some sort of indirect potential self-deprecation in a
Yeah.
way, because it's like they're better than me in that way, and by definition, therefore, you're not as good as. Why aren't you as good as? Is it? And then is that defeatist? It's like, oh, I wish I could, or I could never be that successful.
One day, maybe.
Or, God, I could never start a business, or I could never have the confidence to put myself on social media and all those things. And yes, there's knowing I don't want to do that is different from I could never.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, absolutely fine. But if you put someone on a pedestal and say, that's so cool, I could never do that, there is some sort of self-deprecation or lack of belief or lack of drive there. And yeah, I don't know. Do role models then perpetuate that sort of stagnation or feeling like you can't achieve because you're putting someone else over there in that space of success, but feeling like you couldn't do that?
It's odd because you could almost ask the opposite question: do role models help people achieve certain goals?
Yeah.
Just
hopefully,
you always hear these big stories of people who end up being famous have these posters of people back in their age on their wall, be like, one day I'll get there.
And that's why
undying belief.
And that's why maybe role models are helpful, and we've come from a very much a lens of we're all on the same. But can it be helpful to have someone up there that you're seeing to be
helpful or healthy is different, But then would anyone achieve anything if they knew that from the age of one they were enough? And I don't know. It's a really interesting one.
Well, I think
there is a space for them.
Being as productive and successful from my own metrics as I've ever been in my life, in line with having the most confidence I've ever had in my life. And so, yeah, I feel like I don't know where that was coming into the conversation, but
does it come from a point of you knowing that you're enough, but also wanting to learn from others as well?
Exactly, knowing I'm enough, so then being able to see these successful people and take inspiration from that, to enact that inspiration, as opposed to sort of either envy or, again,
jealousy
like,
or whatever.
Jealousy or seeing that I couldn't do that. But again, I just heard myself sounding quite privileged. I start from a baseline of a foundation of relative wealth in England and all those things. So
of course, yeah.
I see these role models, and I see them to be something that I could reach, because I have the privilege in a way to be able to do that in many ways. I have a mobile phone, I have internet, I have water, all of the basic foundations of life, then also paid employment and all those things. So just to say that.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there.
Carry on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's great in terms of knowing that you're enough, but also having these traits. How do you know then what traits what traits are right or wrong, and what to try and learn from others?
Well, I think everyone has their different preferences for values, and it's all about balance.
It's all about balance, isn't it?
Everyone has their preference for values and what they see to be sort of values that they want to enact in life, or think are worthwhile and of strength and merit. So that's personal preference, but I think as long as you're enacting values and behaviors that are not harming people and are showing all of those sort of things of the good human qualities of open-mindedness, compassion, kindness, drive, loyalty, personally I think that is an objective thing, that they are good things that we should be striving for. I don't think that's like a personal opinion preference thing, like to be a kind person we should all try and be kind.
Are you happy, and are you harming someone?
Yeah.
Yes, no. End of conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, bye.
Yeah. All right, see you. Bye.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I do think that's, if we're trying to wrap it back to, I know we were saying a lot of people are getting lost, there's that lack of figure, and it's that sort of clawing to not know who to look for.
And I know we spoke
to put on a pedestal.
And I know we spoke in that a lot about boys and males, but I think this is for anyone, right?
It is, but if we're talking about our own experiences, I can't speak of what it's like to be a girl growing up. I can imagine it's very, very difficult, but for my own experience, it's just navigating knowing who to put as a role model, knowing whether I need one, that confusion and sense of loss, being like, do I need one? Am I wrong for not having a role model? Does that come from me not having enough in my life?
Yeah.
Is this, am I not enough? Because other people are like, oh, this is my role model. I want to be like this person when I grow up. And I'm like, I don't know. Does that mean I'm not enough? Does that mean I'm stupid? Whatever these things, these questions growing up you have, or I used to have when I was growing up. And I think as I've gotten older, it was that bell curve, is just sitting confidently, knowing that everyone's a human. Everyone has their flaws. Now, there are very much traits which I want to draw inspiration from, like yourself, my brothers, my mum, my granddad, whoever it might be. But it's also fine to know that I'm enough as well. And just being open to learn from other people, having that open-mindedness. It's a trait that I love in a lot of people.
It's really nice.
Especially yourself as well, is the ability to challenge others, challenge these social stigmas, and trying to be as open-minded as possible.
Yeah.
It allows you to grow.
Yeah.
It does.
Growth is where it's at. We're
Growth
always
is where
growing
it's at.
every day.
Growth is cool.
Growth is cool.
Growth is cool. We
Growth
should get
is
that
cool.
on our foreheads.
Yeah, growth is cool. Just here.
Growth is cool. Growth is cool.
Read it and weep.
That would fit on the fingers, right?
Oh, no, it wouldn't.
Maybe toes as well.
Yeah.
I was about to put my foot up on camera, but not for free.
Follow our Patreon.
Guys, we got foot content over there.
We might do. No, we don't.
Selling out foot pics.
No, we don't have foot pics.
That was interesting.
It was. Really enjoyed that once more.
Role models.
Role models.
Role models. Do you think that you're a role model, Marcus?
Yes.
Good man.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes. No.
We're each other's role models. We've said that many times.
We are.
Beyond anyone else, we know that we're role models because we've told each other we
draw
are.
a lot of inspiration from each other.
Yeah.
And if you're inspiring one person, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Inspiring yourself. I'm my own role model, like you said.
Exactly that.
So
me in 10 years, the best version of myself. That's my role model.
1% better every day. LSKD, we love you.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know what that was.
What's that cigarette?
I see it. But it's just good to turn out to be a cigarette. Have you never done that before?
No.
Kiss in the
Kiss in the way.
gods. The LSKD gods.
The LSKD gods.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Charlie.
Yes.
What's your mood boost for this week? Wrapping
My
it all
mood
up.
boost.
Ooh.
My mood boost. Ooh.
Ooh.
On Saturday,
Yeah.
I was in my grandparents' house. We were in the conservatory. Sat there before we were going out to dinner. So my granddad, my nana, my mum, myself, and Felix. And Felix and I, sorry. And we were sat there in the conservatory. It was sunny. The sun was coming in. The doors were open to their garden, and I heard birds singing. They were just talking between themselves. And I'm not sure what brought it on, but I just had a moment. It was like a whole minute where this thought came into my mind where I was thinking, imagine I'm 70 or 80. Hopefully these people are still there, but probably not. These people aren't there anymore in my life, which is sad to think, but it could be it most likely is a reality.
Yeah.
What would I give at that age to be back in that moment now? There is no tangible money I would pay to be back in that moment I'm in now, to be surrounded by family I love who are happy in the conversation. Birds are singing, the sun's on my face. I'm young, healthy, starting a cool adventure with a great friend. There's everything on paper was just being tick, tick, tick. All that gratitude, it was filling me so deeply. I was like, this is amazing. And then I allowed myself to just be in that moment. I was like, I'm here. And that gratitude was so overwhelming. Just out of nowhere it came. And I remember just feeling really happy. I literally said, I was like, guys, this is so cool. They were like, what? They had no idea what I was saying. But I was like, look at birds and that. Felix was like, shut up, mate. He had no idea. But I was just so happy in that moment. I was so grateful. And that just allowed me to sit there. So that boosted my week.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere, but
I
it
love
was lovely.
those moments.
They're beautiful.
We were speaking last week on really trying to do that.
Trying to be more grateful.
In our success at the moment and just where we are. So that's really nice that moment came for you.
That was a tool that I saw online. On the internet.
Funny you said that because I literally saw a TikTok last night.
Did you?
That was saying, if you're having a really down day, don't try and get rid of your down day, but also imagine your 80-year-old self. This is the day that they've flown back to, and this is their last day here. Yeah, and it's your 80-year-old self.
It's a great
exactly
tool,
what you
it?
just said.
Was it the lady on the subway?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, everyone's saying it then these days.
Apparently.
Here we are as now,
so
hopping on that bandwagon.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
What was your mood boost?
I know we say that they can be really small mood boosts, but for me, I just want to share a bit of a big one this week. I, as we know, ran the London Marathon, and I can't. That's not my mood boost. My mood boost is for literally the second I started the marathon up until mile 25. I had this group of people there at mile 25 waiting not only for me and Jack and Iona,
We were
but
there.
other people. That group of people were the Monday Mood Booster Run Club.
Oh my word.
As a group, as a collective, with their banners, their giant party popper things, whatever they're called, cameras, just immaculate vibes. And I basically, the second I started, I was like, get me to mile 25. I want to see my people. And I just was overcome with emotion. And I said to all of them afterwards, I can't put into words like this feeling of joy that I have in this moment, knowing that, and again, leaning into myself and my successes. This is a group of people. Yes, they're all friends and they're all doing their thing within the Monday Mood Booster outside of me now. Like, I'm not part of every single friendship and conversation and all those things. And that's the beauty of it. But this is a group of people who are here from in essence, one way or another, because of my doing, and me setting up this club because I believed in something. I believed in the connection. I believed in representation and people feeling safe and all those things. That they were all there at mile 25, then supporting me and helping me, and it was just the most incredible thing. And I was just the whole way really struggling. Also, Jack wouldn't mind me saying, there was some trying times throughout the marathon, some walking stints, some really like wobbly moments where we weren't sure whether it was going to happen. And all I had in my mind was just seeing mile 25, this group of people, and I just kept saying to Jack, they're not far away, we just got to get to them, we've just got to get to them.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I'm just getting emotional thinking about it, and it was just so cool. And it was just amazing that they were there and you were there, and just that group of people who I guess was my doing, and I'm proud of all of those people and the fact that they were there, and I just can't put into words how amazing it was seeing them. And just I'm not able to articulate it because I can't put into words.
Speechless.
They were all there, and it was just and it was just the most wonderful thing. And I just loved seeing everyone, and not only that, they were amazing at it as well, and really they came out in full force. We're very modest, we're not the big players in the London Run Club scene, and by nature, I think that's because of potentially who I am as well as a person. I'm not this, again, sounding conceited, but ironically, I'm not like this arrogant sort of in-your-face person that leads a run club where there's thousands of people that go every week or whatever. It's been a slow start, and it's been a club we now have a very strong, good community. And I wouldn't change that, and they're the most amazing. But it still was just so amazing, like, because we're modest and all of those things, and we're like a little community. Just seeing them all there in such a big number, and all of these people who also come, but they're not part of. Yeah, I also don't like the cliques and all those things that can happen in these run clubs, but seeing people who wouldn't necessarily be part of a stereotypical clique or whatever, just everyone there who don't necessarily aren't the closest of friends, or they don't socialize outside of the Mondays that we run together, but like seeing Dave there or whatever, and other people, it's just so nice.
When I was in the group, just seeing everyone tracking you guys, but like they're almost here, everyone, the excitement to see you guys come by, and then just the absolute roar of cheer and pride. The fact that a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, these people didn't know each other, and then in such a short amount of time, there is just such a strong bond and this overwhelming pride for this person doing this thing, or these people doing this race, that you literally are there just like grabbing, hugging, you're setting off these these like
cannons,
these like cannons things, and just absolutely go on, run, like,
my God,
you cannot put it into words. There is no word that does it justice. It's such an overwhelming sense of happiness, and the fact that that's been built by you from nothing, and all these people collectively coming together, it's more than any sort of, as you said, cliquey club or thing could do. It's genuine, it's raw, and it's real.
It's so lovely,
and you can't emulate that. You can't buy it.
So
you cannot.
There we go. That was my mood boost.
Epic mood boost.
And yeah, it was a cool memory for sure.
That's elite. I love that. It was a great moment. I remember when you came back. Yeah, just like everyone running past. Sorry, I just remember seeing it, like the cheers and stuff. It was just brilliant.
Yeah.
It was an elite day. It was an elite moment.
Cap. I went to run off and I hadn't said anything. I was like, shit, crap, it's Charlie's birthday. And then I came back.
Whip that cap off. I was like, there you
go.
Brilliant.
It was nice.
Elite.
Okay, well.
Lovely. Thank you for that conversation.
That summarises that one. congratulations for a great episode once
Thank you.
more.
Congratulations for recording this with me.
Numero 7.
Number 7 in the bag.
We're just flying.
I'm not sure if you saw, we got an email notification from Podbean a couple of days ago saying, "Well done, you've done more podcasts than most, or more
really? I
podcast
didn't see
episodes
that,
than you hosts." So,
Oh, well, there we go.
a lovely notification.
We are successful.
We, in our own right,
Stay
we are.
winning.
Stay being role models.
Yep.
Hell
Nice.
yeah, frick yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay,
Right.
well, thank you. We
I'm
hope you
gonna
enjoyed.
turn off the audio now.
Have a lovely week ahead if you're listening to this on Monday when this releases.
Oh, yeah.
And we shall see you on the next one. Just so you know, we're moving house, so it's going to be chaotic. And next week we'll probably talk about that.
Bye.
Bye.